Yo, what is up guys, Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, this video is a quick preview and prediction for a heavyweight fight that is going down on the 14th of May in Paris, France. The bout is contested by rising prospect and former Olympic gold medalist Tony Yoka and Martin Bakole. Now, I think this is a good step in the career of Tony Yoka. I think Martin Bakole certainly will be the toughest test of Tony Yoka's career, and quite frankly, inactivity aside, because Yoka's now been pro for nearly 5 years and he's only had 11 fights, but in those 11 fights I think he's been moved pretty well. The inactivity was due to a missed drug test in France, where I believe he served a suspension. But apart from inactivity, I think the guy's being moved pretty well. In his last fight, he fought the unbeaten Peter Milas, who was very awkward, and prior to that, he fought the usual heavyweight veterans, the likes of Christian Hammer, Johan Duhaupas, Michael Wallisch, etc. So I think Tony Yoka's being moved quite well, and this is definitely again, in my opinion, the toughest fight of his career so far. But he's obviously the favourite going into this one, but it's a good test. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this fight. I do rate Tony Yoka in terms of his technical ability, his high guard, his jab, his straight punches, even his body work for a man of his size is pretty impressive. Technically, Tony Yoka is pretty good, and he's got good athleticism. I do worry about a couple of aspects of his game, his chin, his gas tank in a hard fight, and how he deals with pressure fighters. So I do have a few concerns, but I do believe Tony Yoka is a prospect worth looking out for, and he's a decent prospect. But yeah, let's briefly break down the tale of the tape between these two fighters. We shall start with Tony Yoka. He has a perfect record of 11-0. 9 of his 11 wins coming by way of a knockout. Martin Bakole has a record of 17 wins, 1 defeat, 0 draws. 13 of his 17 wins coming by way of a knockout. Of course, the only defeat coming at the hands of Michael Hunter. Tony Yoka is listed as 6'7" with an 82-inch reach, whereas Martin Bakole is listed as 6'6" and his reach is not listed anywhere. So Tony Yoka is the taller man, and looking at both fighters, it does look like he's got the advantage in reach also. And really that plays into Tony Yoka's style. Primarily, he likes to keep you behind that jab where he's at range, whereas Bakole likes to get a bit closer to work you over. So the reach of Tony Yoka and the height could be a big factor in this fight. Tony Yoka is 30 years old, whereas Martin Bakole is only 28 years old, if you believe that. Both of these fighters are orthodox. Now let's briefly break down what I believe each guy should do to stand for best chance of winning, and at the end of the video I will make my prediction. And for this one, I guess we shall start with the underdog in Martin Bakole. Now Martin Bakole is not as refined as Tony Yoka when it comes to his boxing skills. He doesn't have the amateur pedigree of Tony Yoka at all. So in this fight there is a skill gap in terms of pure technical ability and things of that nature. For me, Martin Bakole traditionally, I think of him as an aggressive heavyweight. He likes to marauder forwards behind that jab, and primarily I think he does a lot of his best work up close and at mid-range. His boxing skills from the outside, in my opinion, leave a lot to be desired. We saw that against Michael Hunter, and quite frankly, in a technical boxing match, I think Martin Bakole is second rate. It's down to Martin Bakole to really make this a fight, really make it rough on Tony Yoka. He needs to apply pressure from the opening bell, test that gas tank of Tony Yoka, and more importantly, test that chin. Tony Yoka got knocked out a few times in the amateurs, and despite his talent, despite his ability, that was one of the question marks that always followed him throughout his whole amateur career. So it's down to Martin Bakole to make this a real rough sort of fight. Martin Bakole, for me in this one, needs to apply pressure in that tight high guard behind a ramrod jab, and he needs to be doing his absolute best to cut up a ring and close the distance as quickly as possible to get into the pocket, collapse the pocket, and then work away to the body and throw those uppercuts through the middle, which Martin Bakole throws very well. Like I said, up close, Bakole is pretty good at shortening his shots, and that's where he needs to take this fight. His trainer, Billy Nelson, likes to compare Martin Bakole to Riddick Bowe. Well, that's how he's going to have to fight in this one, you know. He can't allow Tony Yoka to settle into a rhythm and box behind that jab and be comfortable, because if that does happen, then it could be a long night for Martin Bakole. He needs to make this one really rough. No room for rest here for Martin Bakole. Even if they both naturally fall into the clinch, Martin Bakole needs to be doing his best to try to get a free arm, to punch, make Tony Yoka feel uncomfortable. Who knows, maybe even resort to the dark arts in this fight. So ultimately for me, Martin Bakole needs to tighten up his defense on the outside. None of that low lead hand or anything like that. Just a nice tight high guard, boxing behind that jab, trying to walk Tony Yoka down. And once you do get to the inside, or once Tony Yoka's on the ropes or he's stationary, that's where Bakole really needs to try to work that body of Tony Yoka, test that gas tank, and again, fire those uppercuts through the middle. Tony Yoka's guard is pretty effective at blocking straight punches, but you can punch around the guard of his. His guard it's nice and tight, Tony Yoka's guard, but it's not an active guard, you know, so you can loop shots around Tony Yoka's guard, around the side of it, or alternatively on the inside. You can pierce that guard by throwing uppercuts through the middle, because Tony Yoka's elbows are relatively far apart when he's holding his high guard. So for me, those are the key shots for Martin Bakole, those crooked arm punches, you know. But in order to do that, obviously, he needs to get to the inside, and while he's on the outside, he needs to pay attention to defense, because Martin Bakole's defense at times is extremely leaky, so he needs to really work on that going into this fight, because Tony Yoka, he's quick enough and accurate enough and powerful enough to really capitalize on those defensive errors. As for Tony Yoka, well, to me, again, I said earlier, he is the better natural boxer here. Far better at straight punching from the outside, much better footwork, much better defense, much better guard, etc. Better punch quality, I would say. All around, Tony Yoka, and he's bigger and longer, but all around, I would say Tony Yoka is a far superior boxer. And for me, that's what he needs to do in this fight primarily, is box behind that jab. Tony Yoka's got a really educated jab when he's going through the gears. A nice ramrod jab, he can double up a jab, he can feint off a jab to set up the right hand, he can vary the jab from body to head, etc., vary the pace and speed of the jab. Tony Yoka's jab is really educated, and that's going to be key against a come forward guy like Martin Bakole. And quite frankly, Martin Bakole is not the most intelligent fighter in the world, so if you give him different looks with that jab, as well as throwing in the odd feint, more than likely you can walk Martin Bakole into a trap, and that is where that straight right hand of Tony Yoka comes into play. It's a really quick, accurate shot with decent power, and if he lands enough of those on Martin Bakole, I definitely believe he can stop Bakole in this fight. But Yoka needs to do what he does best, and that is box. Box behind that jab, keep a nice tight construct, nice guard, and have Martin Bakole follow you around the ring. I think the body jab in this fight is going to be key, or not key, but it could be very important for Tony Yoka, because like we were saying about Tony Yoka's gas tank being a bit questionable based on the amateurs, so is Martin Bakole's. I mean, he horribly gassed in the fight with Michael Hunter, so that stabbing jab to the chest could be a really good shot for Tony Yoka. It's a good point scoring shot, and obviously the jab to the body, the jab to the chest is great to reduce stamina. And also, it's good to keep your opponent off balance at the end of the day. And Martin Bakole is a guy who really needs to be set to punch. And he comes in square at the best of times. So that jab to the chest, that jab to the stomach is a really good deterrent for Martin Bakole. It could reduce him being able to set his feet and throw punches, because he'll be more off balance. And if I'm Tony Yoka, I'm boxing behind that jab, and I'm stepping off to my right. That goes into the left hook of Martin Bakole, but for me, Bakole's left hook is not really all that great. His overhand right is decent, hence why primarily I'd rather see Tony Yoka escape to his right. But again, mix it up, don't make it too obvious. Occasionally, Yoka needs to step off to the left and make Bakole reset. But just take advantage of Bakole's limitations when it comes to boxing on the outside. And yeah, for me, this fight is a fight of patience for Tony Yoka. Early on, again, box behind that jab, don't take too many risks. But as this fight plays out, that's when I want to see Tony Yoka start opening up with some combinations. Tony Yoka's got a really good 1-2-1. So jab, straight right, then another jab combination. He's got a good jab, straight right, left hook combination. Tony Yoka can mix it up for a heavyweight. And as this fight plays out, that's when I would start to look at combinations for Tony Yoka, because as we saw in that fight with Michael Hunter, as soon as Bakole started to gas, he lost his shape, he lost his construct, and against a guy like Tony Yoka, who is super accurate, he could style on Martin Bakole in those occasions. So yeah, I mean, for me, patience early on for Tony Yoka is key behind that jab, and as this fight plays out, go through the gears, go through the repertoire of what you can do, and if he does that, I believe Tony Yoka will be in for success in this fight. But ultimately, who am I picking in this one? I am picking Tony Yoka to win this bout. I know, some people question his chin. I do question his chin as well. And Bakole can punch, but I don't see Bakole being the guy to detonate and land on that chin. And I actually believe that Tony Yoka is going to look really good in this fight. I think he's going to school Martin Bakole early on, off the back of that jab. And as it plays out, you will start to see Tony Yoka really go through the gears. And in my opinion, Tony Yoka stops Martin Bakole in maybe rounds 7 to 10, something like that. Wouldn't be surprised if it's even earlier, to be honest, a couple rounds earlier. But yeah, I'm going to go Tony Yoka stoppage, rounds 7 to 10, let's say. That's my prediction. But I think Tony Yoka is going to look good in this fight. How about you guys? Are you guys giving Martin Bakole any chance? Obviously, given his power, you give him some chance. That's why this fight's intriguing, in my opinion. But in terms of skill for skill, I see Tony Yoka as being on a different stratosphere to Martin Bakole. And again, I rate Tony Yoka's skills. I'll say this much. If I knew that Tony Yoka was as robust and durable as Filip Hrgović, for example, I'd probably say Tony Yoka is the best up-and-comer in the heavyweight division. I rate the guy's skills that highly, but it's the other things with Tony Yoka that could be his undoing. But we shall see. We shall see. Anyway, share your thoughts below. It's been your guy, Delboy. Peace.